There was a time where guitar synths were usually MIDI synths. You had to have a pickup on your guitar and lots of wiring, a big cumbersome bit of kit, and it was expensive and it didn't really track all that well. Well, not until recently at any rate. But there's one on iOS, which is what you've just heard. Let's take a look at this. Here we are with the Roxin by Yonak. Fantastic guitar synth, absolutely unbelievable. And it cost me £1 sterling. Actually, it was 99 pence, so I got a penny change. Now, I've got my guitar plugged in via the iRig Stomp, which is something that you need if you're going to use it on an iOS device, because otherwise it simply won't work. Now, you can use an external audio interface if you've got one with your iPad or iPhone, and it works on a phone too. Very, very cool. Now, on the left-hand side, we've got a gain control, a master, and an instrument level. Now, the gain, the input, is really important to set on a guitar, because otherwise the synthesizer isn't going to know what to do, and it might either re-trigger lots or simply not see any noise at all. Now, I've got the gain set at 12 o'clock here. Which is working very well. So if I just turn it up a bit, there's plenty of level there. So really just play with that at your leisure and try and sort of establish something that makes your playing make the synth respond. We've got a master output level control, which is actually very useful when you consider that you can actually start to push the level up a bit too far with other things like filters and effects and all of that we've got on here. So we're on the page 1 of 5. We've got the synth, we've got the modulation and arpeggiator on one page. We've got our effects, preferences, which is just like a drop-down menu, and tape, which allows you to record things on this as well. So if I also just bring the instrument level up all the way to the top, to switch the voice off. I've just got my guitar input. Now, I'll just take that down. So voices 1, 2 and 3. 3 voices on this synth. That's pretty handy. So there are 5 different voices. We've got A, B, C, D or E. So no names applied, just letters. Let's leave it on C for now. At the moment, you can see that the octave switch is set to -1, so it's playing an octave down from whatever you give it. That's if you hate your parents. Everything is down 5 octaves. We've got a pan control for each of these, which is really handy, so you can generate a sort of stereo spread with the other voices. But as you can hear, it just goes between your speakers. We've got a detune control, which allows you to either set actual half steps, anywhere between 7 and -7, or if you really fine control with it, you can actually set it to be ever so slightly off. Now I'm going to bring in a second voice to demonstrate that. Let's have voice D. And they're both at the same octave. So when you're tuning your guitar up between the 2 strings, you might hear that. Lovely. And let's bring in voice 3. With a little bit of a spread, perhaps, between voices 1 and 2, perhaps. So, notice that it tracks vibrato and bends. And chords. Polyphonic and tracking with vibrato and bends is really, it was the guitarist's dream really 10 years ago only, to have all these things so that they tracked properly. So, a lot going on here. We've got a voltage controlled amplifier, VCA. Now what that does is it allows you to set how the volume envelope changes over time. At the moment the attack is all the way at the bottom. Now if I bring this up, every time I trigger a note, the attack will cut everything off and just bring it in gradually. And you have to be careful with your threshold to make sure that it actually works properly. Now we also have sustain, decay and sustain. So if I set these low enough, it actually has the opposite effect. It turns it down afterwards. And then we have a release control, which is what happens when you stop the sound. So there are various things that you can do with this. Now, let's just take the attack all the way down to the bottom, the decay up, the sustain up, so that we've got no overall control of the, or no overall effect anymore of that VCA. It just goes straight in like that. While we're here, we have a noise control. It used to be that we spent decades getting rid of noise, but actually we can add it again, and it is a control that is found in a lot of synths. You can add some noise to make it sound a bit grainier. Now, looking at the filters, now at the bottom left here, at the moment my voices, voice 2, voice 1, 2 and 3 are all sending to filter 1. You can see those little lights at the top half there. So the filter 1, and filter 2, there are 2 filters on this. We can set any of the low pass, high pass, band pass, any of those sort of filters. So if I set it to low pass, and we have a similar thing with the attack and the decay. Very clean, very lovely indeed. Now, I'm just going to switch that filter off, which is leaving the sound that we originally had. Because I'm going to go into Modulation and Arpeggiator, which is page 2 of this fantastic synthesizer. At the bottom, we've got an arpeggiator. Now, what I've done is I've actually set this up to play all 12 steps of your octave from 0 to 11. And if I switch that on now, okay, now we can set it to go, if I just, the algorithm here, if I set it to go all the way up, and you can set it so that the trigger resets the pattern, or indeed it doesn't. And there's your difference between those. The speed at which the arpeggiator runs is dependent on your beats per minute, which is shown at the top here. At the moment I've got quite a fast speed, 288. That was simply to just demonstrate this really, but you can set it slower by tapping the tempo on the little display there. Or you can actually control it more finely with the little wheel here. Okay, so 159. We can have a swing control. We can set it to go up and down. Let's make it a little bit faster so that it's you can hear it. You can set it so it spends a little bit more time at the top before coming back down, the equivalent of 2 notes or a repeat. We can have it going, you know, JS Bark with electron. Random, great for your free jazzers. Yeah! Yeah. Okay, switch the arpeggiator off. And let's have a look at the LFOs, or low frequency oscillators, because you can do more. Let's have a look at changing the amplitude, which is the most basic one, the volume. And of course, we can still have the filters. We can set the delay before the LFO kicks in. There we go. So a long delay. Or the vibrato comes in. We can either have it continuous, like with the arpeggiator where it just keeps going, or you can have it where you trigger it. If you like, you can sync it to your BPM with that button there. I haven't worked out what shot does yet. I think it's one shot. It just does its thing once only. Now you can control it yet again with another oscillator. Let's try LFO2. So LFO1 is actually controlling the amplitude, but LFO1 is itself controlled by LFO2. You can go absolutely mad with this, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. Now what we could do is we could also change the filter frequency, perhaps. Now, moving on to the effects. We have a page here which is very comprehensive in layout. You can do masses. Now, as with any synthesizer, it's really useful to have an equalizer because you can get those partials that maybe you wouldn't hear otherwise. So if we switch that on, very lovely. We can have a chorus. Or a flanger. Actually, that was flanger and this is chorus. Phaser. It's not a guitar, this is a synth. It's a fully fledged keyboard on a guitar. Delay. With the usual controls, you can do the time and then the feedback. And we have a reverb. What you can't do with this isn't worth doing. There's your preferences, which is the fourth one. We can change your settings. I've got my buffer size audio set to minuscule at the moment, and actually it tracks very quickly, very well. You won't notice any timing issues at all. Great. Tape. This is where you can record your performance. Great, lovely, lovely. Now, does it work with a bass? Yes, it does. Let's have a go with that. Now, I've got my Fender Precision here. I'll just plug that in. Okay, now you can make this work with a bass. So what I'd have to do is probably just have a little bit of a reset here to switch a few things off and see what happens. Now again, because the pickup on this is probably slightly different in level to my guitar, I'd need to make sure that things are going to work properly. Some of that re-triggering wasn't quite there. That's a bit better. I've just brought the threshold up a bit. Now, as a bass player, when you do these sort of percussive things with your fingers, you've got to kind of unthink that. Just so you can get everything to work a bit better. But if I just have a little tweak. I love it, and it works really well. So there we go, the Roxin by Yonak, a triumph of design, and also for us guitarists who want more sounds, get this!